Hello, my name's Ron Squire. Welcome to highlights of the 2017 Thrustmaster Formula Sim Racing World Championship. Round 3 begins the European season, and the first race emanates for the Circuit de Barcelona, Spain in Catalonia. For the second race in a row, we have a wet race. Now there's only 10% chance of rain during the race, so will it dry? Well, find out soon. Mazda Racing lead the Constructors' Championship by 9 points ahead of Stormcharge Vodbull Racing, Twister Racing, VB Madcape and Ghost Speed following close behind. Mohammed Patel leads the Drivers' Title race after winning the first race of the season. Will the wet weather suit him again today? The Spanish Grand Prix sees a new team entering the fold. Flag to Flag and Netrex have combined to make a new team, Flag to Flag Brem GP, with the Brem GP name returning to FSR for the first time since 2013. Martin Gosby and Florian Becker also returned to complete the driver lineup, although Sander Callas is driving as a replacement for Becker today. Simontic takes pole position in a mostly dry qualifying session, some 2/10 ahead of Daniel Kish, with the rest of the top 10 only covered by half a second. The top 20 only by 1.3 seconds. Camille Liswell with a good performance in 4th, and Martin Gosby returns to FSR with a 6th place start. The rain started at the end of the qualifying session, so the drivers didn't have many laps. This is surely going to be an exciting race indeed. So the race starts and everyone gets it off the grid well, apart from Valeriano, who gets tagged by Araneda. At the front, Simontic keeps his lead to Patel, while the rest of the field fights for the first 2 turns with minimum contact. Coming into turn 7, Liswell looks up on the inside of Patel to take 2nd place. A good showing for the Polish driver so far. Meanwhile, at turn 9, Martin Gosby, his first WC race in 2 years, spun around Martin Stefanko, who was slower on the apex. Martin then had to wait for the whole field to get past as he loses track position. Sander Callas, on the other hand, was having a great start, making a double overtake on his teammate and Mitchy Hoyer down the main straight into turn 1 to move up to 5th place. A good start from the Estonian as well. Speaking of Hoyer, the German had a lot of sided moments a few weeks ago in the wet of Bahrain, and continuing that form in Spain with a spin at turn 10. Lap 6, Georgi Manazakis is trying to overtake Enos Musculi, who had a bad qualifying session. The Greek slipstreams and makes the move past the Italian veteran into 15th place. The Canadian Alessandro is also lower down the field than he hoped, and after a small mistake he gets overtaken by James Sadler through turns 7 and 8. And Enos Musculi's day didn't get any rosier. 1 lap later he suffered a disconnection for the 2nd race in a row, making his title hopes a lot more bleaker and harder to achieve. Meanwhile, Sander Callas continues to shine in the race, overtaking Jim Priestas to take 4th place on the 9th lap, outbreaking the Greek into turn 1. Lap 13 saw a major incident after Valeriano and Araneda making contact at the last chicane saw them facing the wrong way. The Canadian Alessandro came in sliding and tried to avoid Valeriano, who decided to move at the exact same time, causing all 3 to end up going into the pits for repairs. Lap 19 saw the first pitters starting to emerge, with Simontic taking the 2-stop strategy. 5 laps later, Callas continues to impress, moving past Camille Leswa for a net 3rd place. His teammate Martin Gosby pits at the end of lap 24 and comes out side by side with Jim Priestas. The pair makes contact into turn 1, losing a lot of time and both sustaining damage. The final chicane was proven to be very challenging after another accident, this time involving Lars Boujman and Daniel Kish. Kish spins around and collects Lars. They try to get out of the way, but they soon collect Jim Priestas. Martin Gosby was lucky to escape to get through with no damage at all. Lap 26 saw Stefanko and Sadler battling before coming into turn 9. Sadler runs wide after locking up, and Stefanko slides past after Sadler gave him enough room. Mr. Capate makes his pit stop on lap 28, but interestingly takes the intermediate tyres. Will this work out for him? Unfortunately, his experiment backfired, as 3 laps later he was caught by Gosby and Boujman, who both passed him to get into turn 5, as Risto goes wide and goes slightly off track. At the front, Mohammed Patel didn't make a pit stop until lap 31, when he comes in for his first and most likely his only stop. Similar to Camille Liswa, who's also doing a one-stop strategy after showing a good show of pace today. Lap 36 and Capate is still out on the intermediates, which are really not working. Sadler and Manazarkas are now catched up and past him as he barely makes the breaks into turn 1 and 2. Duol now was one of the replacements for Invictus Motorsport this race, but he was struggling as he ran on into turn 1 and 2, and then coming out of turn 5 he got a wheel spin as he slammed into the wall, ending his race prematurely on the spot. Jim Priest was the next one to retire after a disappointing race for him, after a spin at the final corner led him all the way up to lap 43. Meanwhile, Simicic makes his second pit stop from the lead, taking the final set of wets, but with Mohamed Patel on a one-stopper, Journey had a lot of time to make up in the last 23 laps of the race. Elsewhere, Martin Stefanko was having trouble getting past Leswa until lap 47 when he finally got past him around the outside of turn 1. Unfortunately, his race turned sour as he spun going into the pit lane. While he trying to spin back round, Valeriano came into the pit lane as well, and they smashed into them, ending both their races on the spot. Coming into lap 62, Simicic almost caught up with Patel and was getting closer, but by that time, the rain was stopping. By the final sector, Simicic was almost touching Patel, but the Englishman always had the track position, and by the time, it was already too late. Coming around the final corner, Mohamed Patel takes his second win of the season in another wet race, with Journey Simicic following close behind in second place. Sander Callas rounds out the podium in an awesome race on Flag to Flag's debut in the World Championship. Bridgman had another strong showing in 4th despite contact with Daniel Kish. Martin Gosby takes home 5th on his return to FSR after a 2-year absence, and the two GS Engineering boys are next with a strong performance. Manazarkas, Sadler and Capade round out the top 10. Patel now has a 20-point advantage in the title race, with Bridgman and Simicic close behind each other in second. The rest of the field are also still pretty close together in the beginning of the season. In the Constructors must extend their advantage from Vodbull and Ghost Speed, with Flag to Flag Brem GP jumping to 4th in their first ever race. What another eventful race! The start of 2017 has certainly been interesting, but next time out we're in Turkey on the 9th of April. Will we finally see a dry race? Well, you can find that out by watching it live as it happens on the FSR YouTube channel from 5 PM GMT. Subscribe to the channel now to ensure you don't miss any bit of action. If you'd like to get involved in FSR, please check out the links down below and get yourself started. Thank you to Cameron Roger and to Matt Tucson for making the highlights, and I've been your commentator Ron Squire. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you for the next round of the 2017 Thrustmaster Formula 7 Racing World Championship. Until then, goodbye.